Is it good evening? Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to Zero TV. I've lost everything in my head. My head is somewhere else. I'm trying to meet Mahadis, like in CND. But thank you so much for joining us. Today we have an awesome guest. I told you I'll bring you someone more beautiful than the last guest, and I've delivered. Nimempata. Finally, her name is Samantha Weya, and she's the CEO of Skika Afrika. She's a cool chap. Alinipatia water bottle ingine moto. Girls everywhere in town, whenever I'm working there, umetoa up your water bottle, but I can't give it to them. So, guys, please welcome Samantha.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show today. And hey, you gassed me up, man. Wow.
It's what I do. It's what I do, man. It's what I do.
For those who are looking for the water bottles, we'll be selling merchandise
soon. Yeah, I also need another. I also need just one more.
Okay, cool.
To start us off, every time you're applying for a job,
Yeah.
People, the HR normally asks you, tell us about yourself. So assuming I'm HR, tell us about yourself.
Kwa majina naitwa. Me, I come from the lakeside, so I have 5 names. I will not bore you with all of them. But today I'll just say Samantha. My people call me Sam because they feel the syllables are many. And Samantha Weya. And I am the CEO and founder of Skika Afrika. We'll go into the details of what Skika Afrika is about. I founded this company with 2 of my co-founders who are based in the UK, Chukudi and Beke. And when I am not doing Skika, my day job, actually, I have 2 full-time jobs, really. I have a full-time job as CEO of Skika and a full-time job as an actuarial analyst for a company called Zamara Actuaries. So I like to crunch a lot of numbers. And when I'm not doing that, I'm trying to empower creatives to live in their best selves and build sustainable careers. How I think about my career in a nutshell is I'm trying to build social protection solutions, helping people deal with their everyday risks by using education, technology, and mobilization of people. So bringing up people together. That's in a nutshell what I'm trying to achieve in my short time on this earth. Every day, that's what I try and take steps towards.
Wow, I think that's pretty. If I was HR and I wanted to hire you, I'd say, okay, you're hired. But now, assuming I'm no longer HR and you're seated with me at the bar, obviously the things that you tell HR are not the things that you tell me. So what will you tell someone seated next to you at the bar?
Wow. Okay. Wow. I feel like I take my full self to work. So what did I tell someone when I was seated at the bar? What do I like to do for fun? I'm obsessed with my friends and family. I spend maybe too much time with them. Although they're letting me down in finding me a man, because I'm spending all my time with them. If I'm not with them, I'm in a job, So we're out here. Right here, Nairobi streets are rough, huh? So
very.
They're rough. They're rough. So I mean, yeah. So whether it's like playing board games, eating good foods, trying to do that, I really value my communities and specifically helping each other grow and build. And yes, this is what I would say in a bar, for real. This is just the person that I am. So my community of friends and my family, my siblings are many. By blood, I have 2 little sisters who are 18 years younger than me. But really, my cousins are my siblings as well. We're many where we are 13 of us. I'm not getting numbers wrong. Yes. So how is that? Anything else? What else do I like to do?
Wait, you said you're 13. You are 13.
Yeah, they're my cousins, but they're my sisters. Yeah. So yes. But me and my blood sisters, we are 18 years apart. I am more their mother than their sister. Do a lot of good things. I mean, right now, something fun. I'm trying to learn how to do a backflip. In the spirit of having siblings who are 18 years younger than you, you find yourself doing some interesting activities, taking up gymnastics as one of those. And I'm trying to learn how to do a backflip. I guess that's a fun thing you'd say about. I don't know
really
how
don't.
well I'm succeeding.
I don't envy you on that back thing. I tried it and I've realized that my 30s are baking and they're calling me. I'm not going to do that. I'm tired. Let me ask you, when I was researching, rather stalking, depends perspective, I saw that you did, you have analyst, you went to London School of Economics,
Yes.
yet you are all doubled up in this creative space. How does a girl like you at 16 years old think of, this is what I want to do, but before I get there, I'll use this other path. I'll go and take all these actuarial mathematics things that I assure I'm from. How then do you learn it in this space?
Yeah. So I chose actuarial when I was 14. So imagine. So when I was in school, that time I was in school in South Africa, and I used to want to be a lawyer because I think I'd watched Legally Blonde, and I was like, I want to be Elle Woods, like every other lawyer chick might say. So I was like, I want to be Elle Woods, go to Harvard Law School. Then we were sitting in a careers class. Everyone wanted to be a lawyer. I was like, I'm not about that. What else can I do? Math, scrolled down the list, found actuarial. So that was when I was 14. But I started doing drama as a subject around the same age as well. I started acting. And by the time I was like 16, I think I became very aware about how much drama had allowed me to find my space in a room, be able to be an effective communicator. I did drama at an IGCSE level, and I loved it so much. I did it as an extra A level when I went to do my A levels, and it's part of the reason I moved from Kenya to the UK to do my A levels, so I could do this as an extra subject. I was even a drama scholar, so I became very aware of how much the arts were feeding into my life and helping me find myself and find storytelling and see the power in storytelling. I always liked to watch TV. I used to binge watch shows before Netflix with my parents on the weekend, like 24. We used to my father and I used to sit and watch 24 for hours with my mother, and we'd just be like, that's how I learned how to binge watch. And I love music. I like to sing. I was always singing, even in the house. And so for me, I was like, at 16, what I wanted to do is I wanted to give people the same power of storytelling, right? I really had a heart for building a creative arts school for kids specifically in marginalized communities so that they could, tell their stories. And because for me, storytelling is a great equalizer and it helps bridge gaps of apathy. So where people don't necessarily care, hearing a specific single story draws you to care, just to give an example, if you hear, 1,000 people died crossing the river trying to escape, a war-torn area, you feel overwhelmed by the fact that it's 1,000. But when you hear a single story, you feel, wow, this is something that this is a person, you humanize them. So you say this is a person, and it makes you want to do something about it, right? So in the same narrative, I felt a lot of the issues we face in terms of socioeconomic divide in the country can be solved by individual storytelling. And people need access and platforms to tell their stories. And that's just how I felt at 16, that was something I wanted to do. The business model changed over time. I went to university, I met super smart humans who, challenged me in terms of how do you build sustainable solutions, for marginalized communities where you're not always chasing donor money, where you can generate your funds. And that's kind of the genesis and the emotive background of where Skika kind of stemmed from.
I had put myself on mute there. I think age is also catching up with me. This age thing, but I like the fact that you said you saw a gap in the market and where creatives can come and tell their story. But say someone else wants to start. How did you identify this gap? Because it's one thing to see a gap, and it's one thing to see a gap that presents an opportunity. How do you identify the opportunity in the creative space?
Okay, so I think now to fast track to the later stage in university when I was thinking around sustainability of a model. And just having conversations with different friends around the art scene in Kenya specifically, and the stories we hear about Africa on a global scale. So when it came to thinking about the art scene, what became very evident was that there wasn't much infrastructure in the industry, right? There's no kind of ecosystem that takes raw talent and creates something out of it. So a lot of creatives just hustling, doing their own thing, creators supporting creatives, but there wasn't a lot of structure around the external factors to help people build careers. And that was just something I saw. And that was part of the reason when my mother asked me, do you want to transfer from actual to drama, that I was like, no, because for me, I couldn't see an industry I was coming back to, and I didn't want to go and be hanging in Hollywood for 10 years. It just was not my portion. So yeah, that was kind of the approach. It was seeing this very practical, from my experience, why don't I want to do this? From the people that I know that are practicing as artists, what are the challenges that they're facing? And then I could see the African stories that were being told, and I was like, why are they so stereotypical? Why are they so one-sided and not holistic? I know we are full of a multitude of stories, but you see a very singular, that one African accent they do in all American movies, that's very annoying. All of they have the same acting coach, and they all do the same accent. And you're like, where are you from? The person standing from Kenya is the same as the accent in Nigeria, is the same as the accent in South Africa. You're like, how? So I think for me it was just a combination of those two things. How do you build sustainable infrastructure based on the challenges I'm seeing, and how can we multiply the types of stories that are being told based again on the media that we're watching?
Interesting that you brought up the accent thing, because like you've said, all the movies I've watched, especially there was this drama, American drama, I can't remember its name, but it was nice, where there was a Kenyan character, I think it was called Rashid or something, and he was playing, he was a Kenyan, he was called Rashid Mboro, but he had a Nigerian accent, and I was there like, okay.
Is it in Dear White People, do they have a Rashid?
Yeah,
Dear White People,
Rashid Mboro. Okay. Dear White People. I was watching that and I was like, who cast this?
You're like, who did this to us?
And then it's called Rashid Mboro. It's in the name.
Yeah.
Before I get worked up, I'd like to apologize because I still like that part. But then again, you've talked about telling this multitude of stories, and especially in Kenya, I see that the story that it's told, and I think you can see it even in our celebrities. I started with nothing but a picture of a cow before I opened my butcheries. There's that washy story that we tell. And when I was looking at Skika, that's not the kind of stories that you want to tell, because even in Kibra, it's you have to show the washy part before you can get investors. For you, I'd like to know, or rather, how did you identify that I want to separate myself from this kind of storytelling that is coming from the country and tell storytelling now of African creatives who are actually doing something better, and how maybe this impacted your investors or the people you're working with?
Yeah, I think that's just boils down to talking to people, right? I think when you go and have personal relationships with people from different backgrounds, it makes you view them as a more whole person, not just as a person in context of their environment, right? And so you understand that there's a lot more shared stories than there are these kind of singular environmental stories. Yeah, we all have stories around love, loss, in different ways, shapes, and forms. So, and which are not just about our environment. So I think having personal relationships with people from different backgrounds kind of helps shape that. Look, the singular narrative that we're telling is not a view of a whole person, and we're really boxing people, and we're really trying to keep them in this one narrative.
So the key here is not to box people and to tell one story. But from your view, having been in the industry for quite some time, what else do you see that is hindering creatives? Because I know a lot of young guys, a lot of young people who you're targeting, who have the skills and who have the talent. And I'm sure from your platform, you have also seen that people have these skills, people have this talent.
Oh yeah,
but they never
talented.
seem to break through. So where is the disconnect?
Money.
Money.
I'm telling you, talking to creators left, right, and center. Okay, so money is usually the first thing that creatives have told me is the challenge that they face, right? So creators really struggle with getting access to credit to even start their businesses or do anything. If you're trying to do a film, it's hard to get money to just get all the things that you need to do the film. If you're trying to get into fashion, even just in terms of all the equipment that you need, it's hard for people to get access to money. So that it tends to be a very huge challenge. So what happens is people are only doing creative business as a side hustle, not as a main gig, right? And the people who can do it as a main gig, they have really sacrificed, eating maybe for time, or they have privilege, or they have a lot of privilege and they have a lot more capital and security to be able to stand on, which is also another thing that happens for some people. But you'll get people who are trying to focus on making art full time, but they can't afford it. So they need another job to do that, which is taking away from their ability to create. And so there just needs to be a lot more injection into the creative economy, which there is happening more and more. So like Hiva Fund, if you're not familiar with Hiva Fund, HE,
yes,
they do a lot of that, and are kind of spearheaders in terms of pumping money into the creative economy so people can focus on working. So there's money. The other thing I'd say is around business management. So another challenge creatives have is that they're their own brand consultant, they're their own therapist, they're their own financial manager, they're their own, they're looking for their own gigs, they're creating their own gigs. Then on top of all of that, they're meant to be doing their core work, which is creating art. So because there's no business management, we have no kind of agency models that are effective in the markets generally across the continent, then creators are doing too much. So they're spreading themselves too thin and they don't have enough time to kind of create because they're trying to handle everything. And division of labor exists as an economic principle for a reason. There's a reason in a business, you have people who are doing accounts, you have people who are doing legal, you have people who are doing numbers, whatever it is. Yes. In the same way, as a creative business, it's not sustainable to do everything for yourself, right? Understandably, when you're starting, there's a lot more of doing everything yourself. Even as an entrepreneur, you see that. But we need more business management solutions around a creative business. And so those are at least some of the fundamental things that we see as challenges. And then the third thing is market. More so in Kenya than say a country like Nigeria or South Africa. In Kenya, we have a serious issue with not consuming our own art. You hear things like, royalties. I think a couple of years back, royalties were paid more to Nigerian artists than to Kenyan artists from radios, just because those are the artists getting more airtime, right? We don't push our own content enough. And I know this even from having been in university. When we used to have African Caribbean Society events, most of the music you're hearing there is Afrobeats. The Ghanaians and the Nigerians are pushing their content, right? Even as diaspora, even as people who have not grown up in the country, they're really pushing their content. And again, okay, Nigerians are many, but Ghanaians, we could take a note from that in terms of how do we promote Kenyan artists and Kenyan business, not just locally, but also even internationally. So there is an issue with the market, but we do see a change. Gen Z, I always say, are just such a great hope. When you see people promoting, buy Kenyan business, Kenyan made this, Kenyan music is being pushed forward more. And yeah, I think there is a shift happening, but those have historically been the challenge.
Yeah. Thank you. You reminded me of that fact where, you call a radio station and you ask for the video song, Wizkid's song, but you're asked to name one Kenyan song. You can't name one Kenyan song.
Yeah.
Apart from I Am Unbogable or those election songs, those ones, let's not get political, but those are the only songs
We're still stuck in train days. We're like,
no, don't take me back. But let's just talk a little bit about the when creatives are starting out, you're everything. And I remember in the advertising industry, we have this joke: we are a multifaceted agency. And then you see there a guy, he's the copywriter, he's the designer, he's the client service, he's the cook, he's the cleaner, he's doing everything. And like you said, you're spreading yourself too thin. But say I'm starting out, yeah, I don't know maybe about Skika and I don't know about other platforms. How do I, as a young creative, how do I keep my business moving, knowing that I still have to create art, I still have to pay bills? Like you said, people who are doing creative are doing it as a side business, not as a main gig. But one thing Corona has taught us is that you can never be too sure about your employment. So you need this creative thing to also become like a main gig, but as a side gig. How then do you keep all your boats floating?
Yeah, I think I'd boil it down maybe to a couple of things off the top of my head. So number one, staying connected to creative community. So how a lot of creatives have survived is being connected to other creatives, right? You'll find people who are trying to make films, they have other creative friends who are actors, and it's like, things are tight right now, but let's make magic together and try and do this. And musicians tend to do this a lot. Now, again, as Skika, what we're trying to do is making sure that we are giving people even more access to certain creative communities, so you can stay connected to creative community that you might not necessarily have access to in your immediate community. And so that's one thing that we're trying to do. The other thing I'd say is you have to do your research, right? Yes, albeit historically, there's been challenges in terms of you finding enough access to information. Hopefully platforms like Skika help reduce that kind of information asymmetry. But you need do your research. If you're trying to be serious about creative business, get serious about it. Ask people, try and see what exists, check your social media. We're very privileged that we live in an age of the internet where information is at your fingertips, or at your friend's fingertips. I mean, if you don't have access, the next 5 people around you, someone will have access to information. So I think it's get serious about doing your research and stay connected to creative community, because someone will tell you something that you don't know. And important thing.
Amazing. Stay connected to a creative community. But I'm sure, okay, this might sound contentious. When it comes to creatives, one thing that, having worked with them for quite a number of years, I've seen that there's a lot of me. It's me, it's my work. I don't want to share it because I don't want you to, maybe I'm afraid you'll steal it. And I think that's also part of the problem. So when you're advising maybe creatives, be part of a creative community and they're used to being by themselves, how do they, bring these two opposing worlds together? Because there's also that plagiarism where people steal your content and stuff like that. So what is the surety that, in as much as I'm opening up myself to you, in as much as I'm bringing my work to you, what is the surety that someone else will not undercut me and take the same work that I've created and maybe just add a yellow shadow, black shadow, and pass it off as its own?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, a lot of people have been burned, not just even in terms of creative business, but generally in business. It's you never know, right? Do due diligence, try and understand a bit more about who the people you're getting, you're stepping into collaboration or into spaces with are. Do a bit more due diligence. Don't just accept necessarily what is put in front of you unless you have reason to accept it. There's value in some level of optimism, but also, it's important for you to protect yourself as a business. Don't commit to too much too soon when you meet people and you're collaborating with people, and plugging into creative community. But again, it's hard to survive as an island. You can do it. People do it. People be like, it's just me and I'm on my own. and that's it. People do it, they survive it. But there is benefit in kind of staying connected to other creatives, because even for inspiration, on those days that you're feeling like unmotivated, you listen to a song, it reminds you of something, it allows you to write something, you know. So staying connected to creative community is not just about actually talking and engaging with people, but also about engaging with people's art. And yeah, so I'm not saying go and work, or the only way is to work with other people. You know, if you don't know and you're trying to go slowly, then go slowly, you know, but do your due diligence, unless people have given, you know, unless you trust people, and then you can go with it. But also don't give too much of your business to people that you don't know and you don't trust.
Yeah. Don't give too much of your business to people that you don't trust. So those people who come to you Pale River Road and they say, tuko na hii offer kijana, uko na idea gani? And then you sell it. So do your due diligence.
Kuna discernment.
Exactly.
And if you're a person who can be, like, I have this problem sometimes when I'm too trusting. So what I've done is I have equipped myself with a group of friends who are the opposite. The people who are hyper skeptics, right? And so you can get a more balanced view when you step into a situation. And they teach you how to like weigh things better. You know, I'm very much an optimist. I'm like, I trust everyone, anyone. They're saying not personal things. I'm like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. So, but I've learned how to I've learned from my friends who are more skeptical and who are more guarded, how to kind of put better measures in place so you don't get burned so easily.
Yeah. I think I also need your friends in my life because, like you, I'm an optimist. I believe in the good nature of people. So obviously, just like, brother, like today when I was coming towards this interview, someone came and approached me and said, kijana, nipatie 20 bob, sijakula lunch. And then nikampatia. And then a few minutes later, I see him buying a bag. I'm like, but anyway. And I don't know what's your relationship with Jesus, but I think discernment is a gift of the Holy Spirit. I mean, it's a fruit.
Yes.
One of those.
100%. 100%.
Jesus. Jomo is asking. Really amazing conversation. Ask her what's the best story she's ever told.
Wow, the best story I've ever told.
Yeah. Spokwa baby Jesus.
Whoa. Probably, I think personal stories are always the best story. I know the best story I ever told. Okay. So when I was in my second year of university, so the reason I'm calling this the best story I ever told, because the impact of it was, I think, the greatest I've ever experienced. And that's why I've measured it as the best, right? So when I was in second year of university, I failed my second year of university. And I failed my second year of university because of many reasons, right? I was doing too many things for a very difficult degree at a very difficult university. I was working a job waitressing. I was on like 5 committees. I was directing a couple of productions, and I was doing an actuarial degree.
Who are you?
So I was doing many things while trying to do this degree, on a degree that just needs you to focus on just the degree. And so I failed my second year, and I thought I was going to die because, you know, your African parents are paying for you to do a degree at university like LSE, you know. And also I was just a super type A. I'm super type A. I thought failure was the worst thing that could possibly ever happen to me. That's how I lived my life. And when it did happen, I was like, well, look at that, I'm living. And I still have friends and family. That's amazing. I thought I'd just be like abandoned after that. Or that was the fear that I lived. And so I decided to take a lot of ownership of that story, and not hide it, right? So in LSE, people would hide it. It was a very common story. People taking a break for a year, people failing a year. And how it worked for us, you didn't have to fail all your modules. You had to fail like 1.5 units, and you had to redo the year. That's what failure counted as. If that's what failure counted as. It wasn't about you failing all your units. So when that happened, it was very easy to be like, I'm just going to sit here with my secrecy. I'd even heard of people who they had failed a whole year. They lied to their parents and told them their parents were expecting to come for graduation in 1 year. Then they managed to cook up a story to tell them that they're coming in 2 years. I was like, that's too much effort. Anyway, so I took ownership of the story and I wrote about it actually in our uni paper. And the number of people that came to me and found so much solace in that story was incredible to me. Like, I had people who were like, in my community, I've been told, don't even tell anyone the story. Their parents have told them, don't tell anyone. No auntie, no uncle, no cousin will know. Because, there was so much shame in this very top tier university of failing the year. And so when I told the story, and I started telling the story everywhere, really, and really, it also gave failure less of a hold on my life, I think. So the impact it had on myself, telling the story, and on other people's lives, for me, is why that was the best story I ever told, about how and why I failed my second year of university, and how kind of the actions I was taking to make sure that I didn't fall back into that space, right? And a lot of it was around, how do you learn from your mistakes? And that story was very healing. It was very therapeutic for myself, in terms of forgiveness for myself. It was very healing for other people to find like there was community around this experience. And yeah, so I think that's the best story I ever told.
That's a beautiful story. You make me want to fail. Just to go.
No, but what I also tell my younger siblings, as many as they are, is I make mistakes so that you don't have to. So I told the story so that people don't have to make the same mistake in the same way. Everyone has to make mistakes to learn some things in life. But if I know you and I love you, there's no need for you to make the same mistake I made in the same way. Learn from mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I agree with you to an extent, because when you make such mistakes and they look good like that, someone is inspired, like, I have to fail like that. I have to.
No.
Just for the experience. I just want to experience.
For the experience. No, there's no need. There's no need.
Speaking of stories, I'm glad you brought that up, because speaking of story, there's something. I was watching Bien's interview the other day, and he was talking about how they were making really good music, but it was not really selling, or rather, Kenyans did not identify with it, and then they were being true to themselves. So what Kenyans wanted is different from what they themselves as artists want to the kind of music they want to produce. So and I'm sure you've interacted with this a lot in the creative industry, where what I want to give out is not what the market wants. But as a creative, you have to stay afloat. So you have to, I think it's called
balance.
A first year. You have to sell something to the devil. You compromise on your deals so that you can make money. How then do you stay true to your story, like you stay true to your story, and still make money from it? Because at the end of the day, we really want to make money.
Okay. I think there's a balance. However, I am a firm believer in authenticity, right? I think there is a balance in, you have to understand the practicalities of the market that you're in. But I do fundamentally believe when you're authentic to yourself, you'll find an audience that's authentic to you, right? And you'll see this, for example, with influencers happening a lot. So I have this one influencer who me and my friends say we watch her content every day, and her followers are not that many. I think she has 5,000 followers. She's called Terembe, right? And we watch her daily recaps every day, and we're so dedicated. She's not a follower she's not an influencer who has 100,000 followers, but she's so authentic. When she promotes a brand, we know it's a real promotion, because when she doesn't like a brand, she'll be like, no, it's not correct. And because of her level of authenticity, she has found a following of diehard fans, people who are we are with you every day, actually, on your content. But you'll find that there are those people who are looking for a bigger audience. So they'll promote however many brands it's, that who approach them and whatever, and they're just, they're trying to make that money. I mean, arguably for Tarambi, she also has a full-time job, so she can afford to do that. And maybe someone who's like, hey, I'm going to sell whatever I can sell because I'm trying to put food on the table, then that's your story and that's your situation and that's true to yourself, right? So understanding what are you trying to achieve out of your creativity is important. If it is authentic storytelling, authentic purely to yourself, understand that, you know, sometimes the sacrifice for that is that you won't be able to rake in the numbers that you're trying to rake in. But I do believe in the higher, like, cosmic element of the world. Like, you know, God will reward you for being true to what you're about, you know, in that sense. And you know, you shouldn't have to deceive yourself or lie to yourself and lie to your audience, really, because then the stories you're telling are not really authentic to you. But if that's not your motive, and really you're just like, I'm just trying to make some money and tell whatever stories I want to tell, there's also that, right? And that's how kind of pop culture is built. And that's the model pop culture is built around, right? Is that you have this kind of level of fame that getting to is really about curating content that allows you to get famous and allows you to go viral to a certain way. But even what, if anything, viral social media has taught us is that you can't predict certain things these days as well. Being your truest self could be your biggest asset and make you your most money. But also just putting out typical viral content could be your biggest asset and give you money. So I think you just have to choose what your intentionality around your creativity is and run with that. If you're trying to make a full-time career out of it, the authentic, like staying true to only the stories you're trying to tell might not necessarily pay off as much. But you know, you can grind with it will give you a dedicated audience who are likely to sow into your life as well and maybe make you more money than you expect. So pick your intention and stick with it and understand the model around that and what kind of the opportunity cost or like what you're giving up for sticking with that model is.
You're really deep. You're dropping so much wisdom. I have to like break my picking them here and there. Like by the time I'm picking this one, you've dropped another one. But there's something you said about understanding the model, and I think that's where creatives miss out on. So I believe I'm a writer, but I think that my writing will now start paying me just because I can write. I don't have a model, I don't have a strategy, I don't even know where to begin. I don't know how many steps are there. I just know at the end of it, there has to be money. But maybe that's the problem. We're focusing on the money so much we forget the value. So as I am creative, maybe I'm an artist, maybe a musician, maybe I'm a writer or whatnot.
Yeah.
Which model, or are there custom-made models for each discipline, or is there a model that you recommend that someone can be able to latch on and at least structure their business? Because at the end of the day, your craft is your business, and structure their business too.
Yeah. So I would say that, first of all, thank you for differentiating between money and value. I feel like even generally in career progression, people misunderstand that there is a difference between value and money, right? And that's why you actually in my view, this is why you find a lot of people undercharging, right? Because they're so eager for the money, they're undermining their value. But that's a separate note. So I just wanted to thank you for exploring that difference. But when it comes to a model, I think creatives could really benefit from understanding business, right? Generally, how businesses work, how businesses are structured. So the things that you mentioned, do you have a strategy? Do you understand your style? Do you understand the audience you're trying to target? You know, how do you understand what it costs for you to be able to produce the art that you're trying to produce? Do you understand where you can sell your art? You know, where people can purchase it? What exists in the market? What is the market opportunity for you in that sense? Thinking very much so like a business. You have a business plan, you have a business strategy. It can give you a lot more structure, right? Ideally, what would happen in an industry where there is infrastructure is that's what an agent would do for you and bring for you, right? Production houses, agencies, this is what they bring to a business, right? So you're just the talent, and everything else kind of has a moving parts. But in an industry where we don't really have that, there's a need to first understand, how does a business work and what do I need? So I hear things like, for example, people don't have portfolios. I'm like, how are you an artist without a portfolio? People have studied on arts and they're an artist without a portfolio. I'm like, how are you going to sell your work? It's like saying you don't have a CV in conventional job. How are you meant to move from one market to get a job if you don't have a CV, if that's the first thing that people ask you for, right? And so again, these are some of the structures we're trying to bring as Skika, right? So allowing creatives to be more portfolio minded, think about yourself as business. How can I put up my portfolio? If it is money you're trying to make and it is a business you're trying to build, because you can also just do it for fun, and just as a side thing, and then it's not so structured. So do you understand the makings of a business? What do you need as a business to help you create and put out work and sell work? And do you have something to show for it? Have you built a portfolio that you can go and sell to people? Yeah.
Do you have something to show for it? I can't believe we're already at 40 minutes. I still have so many questions written down here. I feel like we should kidnap you and take you to a room somewhere. Just boil your brain and like everything. But before we get there, you've talked about portfolio and just building your business, and in there also comes networking. And of course, I don't want us to go to the cliche, your network is equals to your net worth. But I'd say that for a creative, especially if you're on the ground, you need these networks a lot, because you never know who's your next client when you're talking to your next client. So you as Samantha, how then do you sell? Just to give out a practical example, how would you sell if you met me in an elevator and I was an investor, or if you met Chris Kirubi or Richard Branson and you have 15 seconds in an elevator, how would you sell Skika Afrika?
Oh, wow. You're trying to get me to do an elevator pitch on the live. Well, on the live. I thought your question was going to be a bit different, but anyway, I'll quick elevator pitch here. So Skika Afrika is a career development platform for creatives. We're trying to equip creatives with the community, the tools, and the information that they need to build sustainable creative careers. So from whether it's collaborating with other creatives to getting booked to finding jobs, all these are things that creatives need to support themselves and build creative business. And so that's what we're trying to do. And another thing we're trying to make sure is that creatives have a space to tell authentic African narratives in the way that they see them, not in the way that media has perpetuated them over the years. So in a wide range. I mean, over time, we want to be able to give them access to even other learning resources and, therapists and brand consultants so that they can build holistic creative businesses around themselves. And how is that?
Okay, I see you. Well, maybe just to get you. You told me that that's not the question you thought I'd ask. So what's the question you thought I'd ask?
I thought no, I thought you were going to ask about how people should plug into a network, or like how you should approach a networking opportunity. How would you engage someone? Which I would have said not to do what I just did, right? Don't sell something to someone you've just met. Try and when you're networking with people, connect with people. And connections are what will inspire things going forward. So you'll attract the kind of people you need.
If I've just met you, I should not sell whatever I'm doing to you.
Generally, people don't like that. I do like that. I actually will always encourage. I'll always ask people what it is they're trying to do in their life and how can I support that. That's just an approach I have. But generally, in a setting, people don't like to be approached to be sold. Yeah. And unless they're in an environment where that is what the reason of the environment is. Yeah, unless they're in an environment where the purpose of this space is so you can come and sell yourself. People don't like people to just come and sell themselves. They're just living their days. They're like, I'm just trying to eat a meal, I'm just trying to live my best life. I do, but I will always ask. I'll always prompt for that to do that, for people to do that. So always, what are you trying to do? How can I help you? The sound, I think, has gone off.
I'm on mute. Oh my God. This is bad. Normally, guys, I'm normally very technologically adept. I'm a millennial. I know these things. I don't know what's happening. But anyway, Sam, imagine if I see Chris Kirubi somewhere, or Richard Branson, or Bill Gates, now that he's recently single. If I see him somewhere in a restaurant, I'll be like, I can't let this opportunity pass by,
Okay, that's true. But then you ask them about what's the best way to approach them about this thing, right? It's not so much about being like, I have an elevator pitch for you. Can I pitch it right now? No, ask them, look, I've been working on something and I really value, if it is someone you actually value, you'll know. Hello? Sorry, my power went. My power went and then has come back. You're on mute.
Oh, I can today. Okay, sour. Oh, no problem. You are raising a very valid point there. So pick up from where you left.
Oh yeah. So I was just saying how you want to understand what it is, whether that's a good space for them, for you to do that, right? So don't just go and just pitch yourself. Just be like, hey, I really value this one specific lesson, and I feel like there's something I'm working on that I would benefit from your insights. Is it something you're open to? Give people the options. Ask them if they're open for that. If they are, they'll tell you how to best approach it. If they want to hear it then be ready. But but don't just bombard people's lives. I mean, it's I think give them the option. If you face rejection, shoot your shot, right? Yes, do shoot your shot.
Shoot your shot. Amazing.
But don't be rude about it. Don't be entitled about it. Shoot your shot in as polite a way as possible.
Don't be entitled about it. And you say for you, you just don't work in Kenya alone. I see that you have some very awesome chaps from the other. I think Nigeria is either a part of Kenya or Kenya is a part of Nigeria. Who's to say? But I see that you work with. Is it called Chukudi? I can't.
Chukudi and Beckett.
Yes,
and they're both Nigerians based in London. When I was in uni, I made a lot of Nigerian friends. So they're both Nigerians based in London, and they're my co-founders.
Maybe the question that I'd like to ask is it easier to, because having worked in the Kenyan industry, what I hear a lot in this country is that it's so hard to work with a Kenyan. It's so hard to everyone prefers to work with someone from outside. And you having worked from both sides of the divide, what's your opinion, or what has been the fact? Is it easier to work with Kenyans, or is it easier to work with people from outside? And how has been the thing that they're in another country and you're running it from Kenya?
I think everywhere there's different types of people to work with, right? So there's incredible people I've worked with in Kenya, like our designer, Zach Adele, who's designed for us our platform. He's incredibly talented. He's did our whole branding. He's incredibly talented, incredibly efficient as a worker. And I have a lot of friends who are the same. And, but you do get the experience where you have some people who are hard to work with. They don't demonstrate initiative. But a lot of those issues I feel are training issues, right? It's an educational institution issue where how people have been taught to value their work and take ownership of their work and value professionalism is such a range. It's educational both from like school and from upbringing as in parents. Those are some of the things that will define how people's attitudes to work. I do think, yes, there are maybe some jurisdictions where but even then I think it depends on the community you're in, right? I think you'll find ranges of how people work in every market. There's super talented people here who are super hardworking as well. I don't think it's a Kenyan problem. I do think there's a lot of work to happen at a training stage in terms of how people approach their careers, in terms of how people approach their quality of work. But I don't think individuals are totally at the fault for that. Yes, you have some personal responsibility, but we have a lot of work to do in terms of how we approach education.
Amazing. I'm sad that we're coming to the last 10 minutes of our show, and it's been interesting. I didn't think we'd get here. Look at me now, getting emotional. I said I'm not getting emotional today. I'm not getting emotional today. But before I let you go, there's something I've been. Where are my notes? Where are my notes? Let me see. Let me just show you how much I had prepared for you. Where?
Wow.
I was ready, but I'll ask you a few more questions and then I'll let you go because I know you're a busy.
Okay. No, I freed up my time for you. Up until 6, I'm good. I don't know what your restrictions are on time.
Sawa. Fine. Being the CEO of Skika Afrika, there's the tendency maybe to get lazy or take your foot off the gas. And how for you? How then for you do you keep pushing? How do you keep seeing? Or is it called pushing the goalposts? How do you keep challenging yourself such that you don't say, nimefika?
Hi, sorry. Was that me or you? I don't know. I think my Wi-Fi might have come back or something.
No, it's okay. Oh, I was asking, how do you keep pushing yourself such that you don't remain at the same level you were last year? Because as there's a tendency for creatives to get stuck in a loop where they find a safe spot and they're like, this is my bubble. I'm just jumping here, up and down here. How do you keep pushing new frontiers?
So I started doing vision boards maybe 3 years ago. So that's one thing that I use, where I kind of just try and not restrict what I'm trying to achieve that year, but give myself some overall things that I'm trying to achieve, right? So I used to do like New Year's resolutions, and I never used to achieve anything. I used to say, I want to become this level of fit, and I never used to achieve it. I want to bring back my fitness and things. So what I learned about doing vision boards is that, and how it helps me kind of keep an attitude of progress is by doing a few things. Number one is putting a level of measurability to the goals I have, right? So what can I do every day, every week, every month, every quarter, every half year, every year, or whatever, that takes me one step closer to achieving this, right? And so I'll put measurable things. So I'm like, if I want to journal once a week, and then I can track that, but I'm not tracking it. I can measurably see how I'm doing every financial quarter. I'll check, okay, this financial quarter I succeeded. For out of the 12 weeks, I journaled 3, or 4, and it's fine. But I journaled, I set a goal and I did it, even if it was not every single week. So measurability, but in a way that is not overwhelming for yourself, and giving yourself grace. It's not about achieving 100% every step of the way. The other thing I do is I put like an accountability person associated with everything I'm trying to achieve. So who in my life do I trust to hold me accountable to the standards I'm setting for myself? And so, yeah, so I like to have accountability friends associated with each of the things that I'm trying to achieve. And then the other thing I try to do is just practice a lot of self-care in terms of how you approach tasks. So I have historically been a terrible procrastinator. We are breaking free day by day. Every day we're trying to make choices not to procrastinate. So like, first of all, not making small tasks very big in my head. It's just a practice that I'm trying to do. So like, if something's a 2-minute task, just get it done in the 2 minutes. Don't try and make it a task that's an hour because it's a 2-minute task. And then finding self-care in the fact that there is self-love in discipline upfront, right? So when you're disciplined in advance, you reduce your level of anxiety as you're approaching a deadline, and that is an act of self-love. So just those are some of the kind of practical things that I've been doing. So in terms of having vision boards that show your measurability and like accountability, they're called SMART goals. Now I can't remember all the SMART, what it stands for, but setting SMART goals.
Specific, measurable. I used to write them in high school. It's specific, measurable, achievable, R was realistic, and time bound.
Yes, those are the ones. Exactly. But so kind of in that same mindset as SMART goals is how I kind of did my vision boards, and then trying to
super. Now I don't know if you know TOEFL, but TOEFL say that what's the exact quote? It's skipping my mind. That the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. I'd like to know from you, what is it that you're learning right now? What have you unlearned, and what have you relearned?
Yeah. That's a great question. And that is something I fundamentally believe in. In fact, the acronym I used for that story that I told about failing my second year was LEARN, and it included a lot of unlearning, relearning, and learning. What am I learning right now? What I'm learning is how to not pick up other people's slack. That is something I am learning. Now, I was a model group member. You know, those ones who will do the work for the whole group. I was those ones. I was those ones, because I'll just be like, you're not going to do the work, but it's done, and I'll just do it. But what I'm learning, and then what happens over time is people start not doing the work because they know you'll do it anyway. So what I've learned is how to not pick up other people's slack. Let things drop. Let other people deal with the fact that things have not met a certain standard, and you just continue with your own like focus on what you're trying to achieve. Because what otherwise happens if you're picking other people's slack is you're getting drained, you're getting resentful for no one. Who asked you to put yourself in that situation? They force you to do their work, that you're here doing their work. So I think that's something I'm learning how to do actively. In that is learning how to say no in the right way and things like that. What am I unlearning? People pleasing. I think I've been unlearning this for a couple of years. So I'm unlearning people pleasing. Just continue to it's not about pleasing everyone. You can't please everybody. And you just have to understand what your boundaries are and continue to keep them in force. And that's just a continuous process. I think I've come far. I don't think my process of unlearning is where it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But yeah, I'm unlearning that through the use of effective boundaries. And what am I relearning? I'm relearning consistency. So actually this year is my year of consistency. I think when you're in school, you're very consistent because the timetable requires you to be consistent. Adulting doesn't give you a sense of consistency. Working from home has reduced the level of consistency in terms of routine and structure. And even generally, even if you're having a work day, because no one is changing what you're doing every hour, every 2 hours as they are in school. There's an element to which you need to give yourself your own structure, right? So I'm relearning how to build consistency into my life in a way that's not draining, but is like efficient for me.
Yes. Wow. Tofla will have been proud of your answers. Now, before we go into the next question, I'm trying to see which one is better, which one is easier. What would you say are the 3 things or the 5 things, or let's keep it to 3. What are the 3 things that you need for a creative business?
What are the 3 things
you need to learn for a creative business?
You need to learn, or you need, okay. So I would say maintaining a good sense of prioritizing your mental health is important for creative business. Now, creatives are always in their field. You're always taking yourselves places. I would say it should be a priority for your creative business to prioritize your mental health. Doing self-check-ins, whether you can, if you can afford therapy, there's like online platforms these days that offer therapy services. Whatever you need to do to kind of keep your wellness in check. You get a lot of feedback from audience, you get a lot of feedback from people when you're creating. It can be hypercritical. So it's very important to kind of make sure that you have proper structures around your mental health. Otherwise it can crush you. It can crush you. The other thing I would say is that discipline is important. Sometimes you need to create even when you don't want to create. I think writers say this probably the most. Just write. When you have writer's block, just write. Doesn't matter what you're writing, just start writing until you have something that is, somewhere, but just start writing. So just discipline is important. Get up and create. Even when you don't feel like creating, create. The other thing I would say is plug into spaces that inspire you and fuel you. Whether that's other groups of community, whether it's going to, I don't know, gallery. I think there's something, yes, COVID has restricted the extent to which you can step into certain spaces, whether you need to take a little trip somewhere, whether you need to sit in your own room by yourself and just like block out the noise, plug into spaces that are fueling you, that inspire you and fuel you. The 5, okay. The other thing I'd say is, I said it before, but in terms of researching around your industry, research who's in your industry, who do you need to know in your industry, what do you need to do to make it in your industry, what does it take to produce a song in your industry, what does it cost you, understanding what it means to make art in the industry that you're in. And that's 4. You give me 5, right? The 5th one I would say is you need people, right? At the end of the day, you need people. No one built anything as an island. You need people. You need the right kind of people. So invest in good community, having good community around you. Those are the things I'd say. Off the top of my head, not having critically thought around it.
Well, those are the things that are honest, because when you think about it, you have to be, PC culture, all that, you have to, color within the borders. So I'm glad you gave us these ones, and they're beautiful points. Speaking of points, you've been giving us points the whole show, and I've been asking you questions the whole show, and our guests too. But being a CEO and being in the industry, it involves you asking a lot of questions, right?
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Now it's your turn. Ask me one question.
Ask you one question.
Yeah.
First of all, I love your writing, yeah? I was even talking to my family about it the other day. I love your writing, because how I found you is because you did the bio for my cousin who came on the
Amy.
Masterclass, Amy, right? So you did Amy's bio. My sister, in other words. And we were talking about how much we love your writing. What inspires your writing? That's a very open-ended question, but what inspires your writing?
Extremely open-ended. Well, thank God. Like you said, people. I'm really interested in people. I find people so interesting. I find that we could be looking at the same thing and seeing different things. You know, we could be having the same problem, and we have different solutions to it, and that's just what inspires me. Like at the end of the day, when you said about when people are looking for authenticity, and that's what inspires me, that connection that I can talk to you, Samantha, today and feel like I've known you for several years and we've only had an interaction like twice, you know. I feel like, you know, that connection that UK had, that slogan, connecting people. And that's what inspires me. That's what gets me. That's, you know, just seeing how people deal with their stuff, deal with their shit, and how people respond to different situations. That really gets me out of it.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, I love people and people stories too.
Well. Now we are coming to my favorite part of the story. Oh, not story. Become a storyteller. I'm just. So let's say, you know, the Lord has said, Samantha, you know, it's time. It's time, Samantha, God forbid, but it's time. You've lived your life well. Kika is doing well, but I need you to come home because your mission needs me to, you know, spruce it up to go. Bring up here in heaven. And he tells you, but before I let you go, I'm giving you 30 seconds to tell people on earth the 3 things that you've learned, the 3 truths that you know to be true to yourself, the 3 lessons that you'd like to pass on to someone else that you believe.
3 lessons.
Yes.
Okay. The 3 lessons.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is key. Understand your weaknesses, understand what your strengths are, and don't lie to yourself about them, right? Don't lie to yourself or others about them. Embrace them, love yourself for both your strengths and your weaknesses. And, you know, the other things become so much easier in terms of what you pursue, where you set your goals, where you set your visions, and how you strive for them. Number 2, plug into community that inspires you to grow. Yeah, I think community that wants to see you become better every step of the way is great community. You know, iron sharpens iron kind of things, right? So community that wants to see you improve and strive and not be stuck and stagnant. People who want to see you succeed and excel and step into your better self. Plug into that kind of community that's healthy and good for you. Number 3, and that's from both family, friends, you know, even when you're in terms of who you interact with in your business and things like that, right? That kind of community. Not everyone has the privilege of coming from families that are like that. So sometimes you need to choose your family. And number 3, I would say, is give people the benefit of the doubt. What people show you is not always what is. So when people are reacting and responding in a certain way, there's so many, they're a culmination of so many things, right? They have their childhood traumas, they have their genetics that have kind of come into play, or like their ancestral predispositions. There's so many other things that you're not seeing that are being presented in maybe like a temper or whatever it may be, like an insult. Give people the benefit of the doubt and give them the grace that, you know, people are not just assholes. So I don't know if I can say that on the show. Give them the benefit of the doubt that they're not just assholes. I mean, yeah, don't allow yourself to be trampled on that basis, but like give people the benefit of the doubt. Right?
Yeah.
Kind of I think cancel culture will have you think otherwise.
Have you been cancelled, by the way, on Twitter or yet?
I don't know. I don't know. I was talking about this as like, I was like, I hope I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I've been cancelled. I don't know. Someone somewhere might have cancelled me. But...
In my books, you're good. In my books, you're good.
Thanks.
You're good.
Thanks.
You're good. You're good.
But yeah, I'm not a proponent for cancel culture. I think we need to show each other more grace as human beings and contextualize things a lot more.
We need to show each other more grace as human beings.
More grace, man. More grace. God shows us grace. Let's show people grace, man. Our parents show us so much grace. Let's show people grace.
And to be clear, grace here is not the girl, but grace the, because these creatives might start thinking grace will let them, but just benefit of the doubt. It's basically benefit of the doubt. That's what it is. Well, we're coming to an end of the show, and I'd like to know, for you, how do you define success?
Ooh, I love these questions that you've asked me, and I'm so glad that I've thought about these questions before. How I define success? Success is in the step by step, not in a destination. Success is in the taking each and every step in the journey, in the process, not in the destination. It's successful moments that lead to successful hours, that lead to successful days, successful years, and a successful life. So it's in the moment, not the destination.
That was Samantha. Like I told you, I don't want to say that she's the best, but she's up. She's up. Sam, when was the last time you failed at something?
When was the last time I failed at something? I told you I'm doing gymnastics. I fail every Sunday. I fail on routine. On routine. I fail. In fact, I asked my sisters how. I think my parents asked my sisters how I'm doing. Yeah. And they were just like, well, no. We are making improvements every day, but I'm actually failing every Sunday. On schedule.
Consistency. At least you're being consistent.
I'm consistently failing on a Sunday.
Well, the positive side, you're being consistent.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, before I let you go, I've noticed that you are very big on collaborations and creative communities, and just finding a space that people accept you for who you are.
Yeah.
And before I let you go, maybe is there something that you want to speak into existence? Do you want to manifest something?
Hallelujah! Yes, hallelujah, amen. May we find all the right kind of investors who will come and help us expand this vision and help us invest in this creative industry on the continent. And may we see African creators become more and more global and just show the importance of who we are as Africans. May it be a unifying factor for us across the world as Africans, that we may stand in our truth and stand in our audacity, actually. May we learn our value and our worth through the stories that we tell. And yeah, you can follow us. My social media will kill me if I don't say this. You can follow us on Instagram, Skika Afrika, Twitter, on Facebook. Yes. And yeah, we should be launching the platform later this month. So look out. So follow us on our social media so you can keep up to date with what we're doing and as we launch. And yeah, if you know someone who has a lot of money to invest in a startup, we out here, we're ready and we're willing to take their monies. If you know someone who's who's thinking the only option is to build apartment blocks, we don't need more apartments. There are businesses to invest in. Yes. But yes, that's that.
Guys, I feel like I've been to church and back. She has preached to me. She has challenged me. She's done those things that we are told people do to you when, they have been through it all. That was Samantha Weya, CEO of Skika Afrika. By the way, make sure you follow Skika Afrika. They have really cool art, and I don't know why Sam never spoke about that. Your website is really cool. You really need to launch it. When are we launching?
We're launching at the end of the month, so relax. You know, you guys are what was sneak peek? So, cheza chini.
Oh, wow, nimeamua nicheze chini. Ningechoma, karibu nichome hapo. So we are launching the Skika platform end of the month. If you're a creative, I think now it's your time to speak to creatives, how they can join. You know, just give them a sneak peek of what to expect and how, you know, this is going to change their lives.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's you to tell them now how they can
how
join.
This is going to, so just follow us on social media for now.
Yes.
And then we'll when we have gone public, we've gone live, we're trying to make sure we clean up for the mass market on some items. So
yes.
we'll have to share the link on our social media platforms when that time does arrive.
Amen. Hallelujah. Yeah. It's been a blast. It's 4 minutes to 6 p.m. and I need to let Samantha go. Samantha, what are your Friday plans?
My relatives are coming. I told you my cousins and my siblings are coming. So to my house. So yeah. We're just gonna chill out.
Is there gonna be kuku? I can come with chapatis.
I don't even know. Actually, I need to know what we're eating. I need to sort that out. And now, the curfews are 10 though, so there's still time to go to the shops. So, okay.
Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. That was Samantha Weya, CEO of Skika Afrika. I'll see you guys next week, Friday, a day before my birthday. You know, so if you have M-Pesa number, I will put on social media. But thank you so much for tuning in. Catch Samantha on social media and Skika Afrika at Skika Afrika on IG, FB, and all those other social media guys that you are there on. Thank you for tuning in. See you next Friday. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me here. Bye.
Yes.